Hi and welcome. This week I'm taking a look at MV Agusta's Dragster 800RR. Now the RR is the slightly up-spec'd version of MV Agusta's standard dragster, and basically it has a little less weight and a little bit more horsepower and a bit more bling than the standard model. The engine is a triple cylinder, it's a twin overhead cam 4-valve engine, and the RR version also has the 6 injectors as opposed to the 3 injectors of the standard Brutale and Dragster. The engine features 140 horsepower at the crank at around 13,000 RPM and 84 Newton meters of torque at just over 10,000 RPM. It uses a ride-by-wire system. It has 4 maps available to you. There's a rain mode, a normal mode, a sports mode and a custom mode, and there are 8 levels of traction control there. The engine itself only weighs 52 kilos, so it's a really compact, lightweight little unit, and you can see that in the really short wheelbase. So the wheelbase is only 1,380 millimeters. It's really quite a short little motorcycle. The seat height is 811 millimeters, and the overall weight of this motorcycle is 168 kilograms. The standard dragster weighs a little bit more at 175 kilos, so you're saving a few little kilos there. Now the suspension is taken care of with a upside down 43 millimeter Marsocchi forks on the front, which are fully adjustable for rebound and compression damping. We have compression damping on the left and rebound damping in the right fork leg, and they're also adjustable for preload. And as an added bonus, these forks are equipped with an alloy slider. So they're an all alloy construction, which reduces the weight of the fork and particularly unsprung weight. There are coated fork legs, so that's also to reduce friction, and they work rather well. The rear is taken care of with a fully adjustable satch, remote reservoir gas shock, which is also adjustable compression and rebound damping and spring weight. Overall, I found the damping fairly firm, and this is set to the factory settings. I haven't actually adjusted the settings. I didn't really have the time to explore the suspension setup extensively, but for the sort of sports road riding that I was doing, I found that once you reached around 80 kilometers per hour, the suspension was really quite compliant and quite comfortable. Part of that comfort, no doubt, is due to the seat, but like most naked bikes, the design of the seat really doesn't allow you to move around on it that much. You're in an upright riding position, your hands fall naturally to the bars themselves. Being fairly short, there's no long reach to the bars, and I found the riding position quite comfortable, at least for the hour that I was riding the bike. Now the brakes are taken care of by 2 320mm discs at the front with Brembo radial mount 4-piston calipers, and on the back we've got a 220mm disc with a 2-piston Brembo caliper. I found the braking very good. The lever travel was very progressive. There was no sudden bite, and you could certainly brake very quickly with 1 or 2 fingers, and you had really good control over the braking. Now the bike is fitted with ABS front and back, which is also adjustable through the menu system. I haven't really delved into that. I really just didn't have enough time in the hour that I rode the bike to really get carried away with all the adjustments. Now the wheels, which are the standout feature of this bike, are actually an aftermarket wheel that MV Agusta have bought and put on this bike. You can actually buy these wheels in various sizes to fit other bikes. They're a Kino wheel, and I am not sure that I'm pronouncing that right. And I think also that the wheels contributed to the slightly lower weight of this over the standard dragster. Now performance-wise, I found I used the bike in both normal and in sports mode. In sports mode, I found it a little bit too edgy for the street. It was just a little bit harsh, I found, for my style of riding. So I did about half the ride in sports mode and half in normal mode. In normal mode, everything sort of just came together for me. The power delivery was smooth and turbine-like, and you had really fine control at lower throttle positions in normal mode as compared to sports mode. The quick shifter on the RR will also shift down as well as up, and I found that worked really well, particularly at higher engine RPMs. It was a little bit hesitant and a little bit unhappy at lower engine RPMs, but once you got into sporting mode, it was fine. Now the engine does vibrate a little bit below 3000 RPM, but you're not really using the engine way down there at the bottom end of the range. You're really using the engine from 4,000 to 9,000 RPM, and certainly it requires a few revs for you to really get that really sudden rush of power. The power delivery is really smooth until you go over 6,000 or 7,000 RPM, and then it starts to build quite quickly. But below that, between the 4,000 to 6,000, 7,000 RPM, it was just perfect for those country roads and long sweepers that we've got here in Australia. I mean, we are a bit limited with our speed limits on our roads. Most of our roads max out at 100 kilometres per hour, and certainly the normal mode and was just perfect on our roads and our tight corners, particularly up through the Yarra Valley where I do a lot of my riding. Now if we move on to the finish of the bike, again, the finish of most MV Agustas today is really superb. The paintwork is very nice. Styling wise, it has a very aggressive style, which is just typical of this modern naked class. The switchgear is top quality. Now the dash is a LCD dash. It's a monochrome dash. It's nothing particularly flash, but it has your basic options of trip meters, and also you set some of your traction control and anti-lock braking functions through that dash, and there's also a bunch of idiot lights on the side there. Now the frame is a combination of a trellis at the front with alloy rear section that sort of holds the single-sided swing arm in place. The engine is a stressed member in the frame, and the frame itself comes across as being very rigid indeed. The actual handlebars themselves are this rather interesting three-piece affair, and this bike comes as standard with a steering damper, which I suspect, unless you're going to do a track day, you probably won't have much of a use for. But still it's there, and I suspect this would be a real weapon on a track day. It certainly gives more than a hint of that on the road. Tyre-wise, the bike runs a 120/70/17 at the front and a 200/50/17 at the rear. Some people would probably call it a bit over-tired in the rear, because I suppose that fits the theme of a dragster to have that really wide rear tyre. Now, MV Agusta, I reckon, have carried this off really well. There's no hint of over-tiring on the back in the handling of this bike. It really seems to carry that extra rubber really well, and you certainly don't notice anything's amiss. Again, I'll just have to say it, the bike is perfectly balanced on the road and just seems to go where you want it to go, and has no issues and has no bad vices. In conclusion, I'd just like to say that if you're looking at a mid-size naked, it might be worth taking a look at the Dragster 800 or the Brutale 800 for that matter. Really the choice between the two depends on what sort of cosmetics you're interested in and what sort of what appeals to you in a naked motorcycle. I mean, for older riders like myself, the whole naked category is really a great option, because we don't bend and fit onto sports bikes the way we used to, and well, most of us anyway. And these sort of bikes are a really good option. And also the naked style of bike is really good in tight corners. I mean, you have excellent control of the bike, and you can do it in a comfortable manner. And really on the street, you're not going as fast as you are on the track. So the lack of aerodynamics isn't really as big an issue on the street as it would be on a racetrack. And I'd also like to thank A1 Motorcycles in Ringwood, Victoria, for loaning me the Dragster 800RR. It was a really nice experience for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if I had unlimited funds, I'd probably be adding one of these to my meagre collection of motorcycles. I must admit, most of the motorcycles I've ridden over the last few years, the new ones anyway, I've thought, wow, I could own that. You know, the quality and the rideability and the performance of most modern motorcycles is just outstanding to what it was 30 years ago. I mean, we are spoilt for choice when it comes to good motorcycles these days. And certainly the Dragster 800RR is one of those good choices. With that in mind, I'll see you next time.